Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dr. Tom Harding, and in this video, we are going to be interviewing and meeting Dr. Steve Blake. And Dr. Blake is a doctor specializing in nutritional biochemistry. He is the director of nutritional neuroscience here at the Maui Memory Clinic, and he has worked as faculty nutritional biochemist at Hawaii Pacific Neuroscience with us for many years. Thank you today for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the show, Tom.
We're excited to have you. I mean, working in dementia and working with seniors, one of the pieces that has become critically important in my mind is the nutritional aspect for trying to fight the battle of dementia. I mean, there's the key areas, and nutrition has become one of the top problems because our food supply is pretty much corrupt today. And so Dr. Blake is going to be helping us sort out through all of these things. And Dr. Blake, one of the first things I want you to help the audience understand is the difference between a cheap vitamin that's out there in the market and a quality vitamin.
Well, that's tough because there aren't many quality vitamins out there. Part of my work has been writing a college textbook for McGraw-Hill called Vitamins and Minerals Demystified. And in this book, I outline the different supplemental forms of the vitamins, as well as, of course, the vitamins in food, which is the primary place we should be getting them. And I think the first thing to understand is that we need to get our vitamins and minerals from food first and then use the supplement to supplement that. But when I analyze diets, I see that we are missing some nutrients in our diets. No matter how good your diet is, and especially if it's a bad diet, then you're going to find missing nutrients or excessive nutrients, and those we can fix up and replace with a good supplement.
So can I continue to eat my burgers and French fries and take supplements to get my nutrition?
You can, as long as you're willing to accept a higher rate of heart attacks and strokes, dementia, cancer, and diabetes, for instance.
Okay, so I'm not really getting the same effect, that sounds like.
I think that the best approach is the best of both worlds, a great diet and a great supplement.
Okay, well, talking about great supplements, I want to show you guys the brain and body food. Now, I've been taking supplements for most of my life, and I thought I was doing a good job because I was going to a big box store and I'd find whatever was on sale. I thought I was being budget friendly and taking supplements. I thought I was doing the right thing. And then I started learning about biochemistry, and Dr. Blake here said, you're just throwing your money away buying these things. Could you elaborate on this for me?
Well, we have to understand that most vitamins are made for one reason, and that is profit. And in that light, the manufacturers are looking for the cheapest ingredients, not the ingredients that are the most healthful. And they put the tiniest amounts in just so they get credit on the label, not necessarily the correct amount. So both the forms and the quantities of the vitamins are each important, and it's true with minerals too.
Yeah, I see you've got quite a few minerals in here. This is quite the list.
And these are the essential minerals for human beings. And there's no doubt that we need that. Everything in here is essential for human beings. We need these things. We can't be healthy or even alive without them.
I see here that under vitamin E, usually when I buy a vitamin in a box store, it says vitamin E and it just has one little alpha-tocopherol, and that's it. This one has many forms in it. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, vitamin E is a family, and there are tocopherols and tocotrienols. Each have alpha, beta, delta, and gamma, but the tocotrienols, while powerfully antioxidant, are not absorbed well, and they're excreted almost immediately, so they're not put in vitamin bottles. They are, however, very valuable for on-skin applications. So we use the tocopherols, which is a natural form of vitamin E. There's alpha, beta, delta, and gamma, and all are important. Now, the most important thing about vitamin E is that the alpha tocopherol be real and not synthetic. The alpha tocopherol we're using is called RRR, and each of the R's refers to the bend of the molecule at one point.
Okay.
If the other way they can bend is the S, so you could have SRR, or SRS or SSR, all of those are completely ineffective forms of vitamin E.
Oh.
But when you buy a bottle that says vitamin E on it, the alpha tocopherol has 8 chemical isoforms, and only one is the real RRR, alpha tocopherol. The other 7/8 of the alpha tocopherol are junk.
So 7/8 of the vitamin E in my cheap vitamin are useless,
And not vitamin E at all.
and not even vitamin E.
And maybe worse than useless.
So is that part of the reason why I read a study that comes out and it says vitamin E was found not to be effective in preventing dementia or skin problems or whatever that they were looking at?
Yes, that's one reason. Although it's surprising how many studies use even the synthetic form and get some good results. I'm always amazed by that. And why aren't they using the good form? It's price. The vitamin E in this bottle, it costs more than all of the other ingredients put together because it's the real vitamin E. And that's why they don't use it in those cheap, underpriced vitamin bottles in the stores.
So you get what you pay for.
Sometimes, although I can look at comparably priced vitamins and see that they're not using the highest quality nutrients either.
They just charge more for it.
They just charge more for the cheap, ineffective nutrients.
That's why I take this one, because number one, I can read this, and number two, I have him sitting here explaining to me, and this is why we're putting this up in video, so that you also can know why you need a quality vitamin over a synthetic vitamin or cheap vitamin. I mean, if you're going through the trouble of buying a vitamin to help yourself stay healthy and feel better about yourself, you should get credit for it, and that means buying the quality vitamin. So thank you, Dr. Blake, for...
And can I tell you how this came about?
Sure.
We were doing the Hawaii Dementia Prevention Trial in Oahu, and you were part of that too.
Yes.
And the people in the trial, the participants, got nutrients, but the people who couldn't get into the trial, maybe they were under 65 or didn't qualify, they wanted to take the nutrients because they heard about the good results. But we couldn't, of course, give them the nutrients. So we developed this brain and body food to contain most of the nutrients used in the Hawaii Dementia Prevention Trial.
Okay. Well, seeing how we're talking about the Hawaii Dementia Prevention Trial, the results and what happened in that trial, Dr. Blake has put into a book. So books are available here at the clinic. He also has them available at his website at www.drsteveblake.com. It's out there, and if you're here in Maui, just stop by and get a copy. But let's talk a little bit about what's in this book. And first of all, what gave you the idea to design a clinical trial fighting dementia with nutrients?
Well, I've been studying it for many years, decades in fact, and studies are showing, for instance, the power of diet. You don't know the power of diet until you look at, for instance, the Rush Memory and Aging Project. They did a trial with people who were not eating much in the way of green vegetables and other people who were eating green vegetables, and they looked at the difference. 11 years delay in dementia.
Wow, 11 years.
And as you pointed out yourself, this was years ago, I remember your words, if we could delay dementia by 10 years, the epidemic would be over.
Yes. Yes.
So green vegetables alone have this power. Another study by the Nurses Health study, they just gave people 1 cup of berries a day. 2 years of delayed dementia on average, up to 2.5 for some women.
So if we took the words of advice from our mothers and just eat your vegetables, we would be ahead of the curve, I believe. So what was the goal of the prevention trial?
The goal, I wrote the trial, and it is now published in the Journal of Brain Sciences in January 2019. The goal of the trial was to delay or slow the progression of mild cognitive impairment into dementia, but that's not what happened.
So mild cognitive impairment is kind of like the precursor stage, pre-dementia. If you're reading the articles and things, if you hear them to say pre-dementia, precursors, it's mild cognitive impairment. That's the stage before early stage dementia. So you were trying to catch these people before they had actually, they've gone from senior moments to mild cognitive impairment and catch them right there before they move on into dementia.
Well, we tried to do that, but there was a slight time delay before the trial got started.
Yes.
So they did actually, on the mini mental status exam, 20 is kind of the cutoff for dementia, and our average was 19. So it was moving just slightly into dementia was the start of our trial.
Okay. And yeah, because it took a while to screen enough people to get them in the trial. Okay. So the goal makes sense. You're trying to delay or prevent dementia. Okay. And so they weren't already experiencing dementia. Hopefully they were caught earlier, but some of them had already crossed over into
just
early
barely.
Stage. Okay. All right. So was the study successful?
It was successful beyond what we expected. Because instead of slowing, so if they started at 19 and it's a 30-point scale, and we would expect that if they're untreated, within 9 months or a year, they might go down to 18 or 18 and a half, something like that. That's normal. But what happened was they went up to 29 out of 30.
Wow.
Which is very much a normal range for people.
Yes.
And I think that part of it, a large part of it was just good nutrition, and a large part was lowering the saturated fats so that they could actually have, although this also worked in the supplement-only trial, so it really had to be the antioxidant effects of the supplements, plus we stopped the formation of amyloid plaques using nutrients.
Okay, now but I'm going to take a step back here. I heard you say dietary change by changing their fat levels. What dietary changes? Let's say I was going to be in this study. What do I have to give up?
Well, in our study, you'd have to give yourself 1 cup of berries a day, either blueberries, strawberries, or red grapes.
I can do that.
And on days when you couldn't do that, a cup of red grape juice.
I can do that.
You know, if you couldn't get to the store or something.
So you're not taking my meat away from me.
And we'd want to also give you some a handful of walnuts, 1 ounce of walnuts, and 1 ounce of sunflower seeds. The walnuts have a lot of gamma-tocopherol form of vitamin E, and the sunflower seeds are very rich in the alpha-tocopherol form of vitamin E.
Yes.
So those are 2 things we'd add to your diet. That's not hard, is it?
No, I can do that.
Okay. Now, another thing we did was change cooking methods.
Okay.
When you have meat, fish, or chicken, and you broil it, or you barbecue it, or you fry it till it's brown, you get these advanced glycation end products.
Yes.
And they really damaging to the brain, and they're permanently damaging to the brain. They kill off brain cells, which is not what we want. So we did reduce those, and that lowers the oxygen damage in the brain.
Okay. So you're changing the cooking method. So far, I haven't heard you say that I can't have my chicken. I can have my chicken as long as I don't barbecue it.
Well, we had dietitians working in the study that would explain to people also how to lower their saturated fats. Now, we used the goal of just under 7% of calories, which is a little more generous than what the American Heart Association would want you to get down to 5% of calories. That at 7% of calories, for instance, a cup of chicken cubes would only have 4 grams, and you get up to 11 grams a day. So it's possible that you could fit that in.
Okay.
Cheese is very rich in saturated fat. And by the way, aged cheeses have advanced glycation end products, so we also ruled those out.
You talking about the expensive aged cheddar cheese that charge more for it?
Any kind of aged cheese.
Faster.
The only dairy products that we didn't rule out in this trial would be like cottage cheese or yogurt.
Okay.
Because it didn't form the advanced glycation end products yet. They still might bump you over the saturated fat level, though.
Okay, so I would get 11 grams, and if I eat my chicken, I may have to give up some cheese, or I can have a sliver of cheese, as long as I keep it at 11 grams of fat. Is that the goal?
Yes, that was the goal during our trial, and this was, I would say, the hardest thing for people to achieve. I would say that not everyone did manage to keep to that goal, despite our crew of dietitians working very hard.
So I'm going to let you guys know I have been a meat eater most of my life. I have incisors right there. So I always figured my genetics, my evolution required me to eat some meat. And I come from the South where eating meat almost every meal is customary. And today, I eat mostly a plant-based diet. I do have fish from time to time, and I do have an occasional chicken, but that's it. And it was it was easier than I thought it would be, and probably because these different foods that they have out that what do you call it? Pseudo
Meat analogs.
meat analog. Okay, that's a fancy way of saying soy, or anything that or black bean burgers. They've got the taste down on these things, guys. I don't even miss the meat because the products that are out today make it so much easier to give up than say, how long have you been a plant-based?
50 years now.
50 years. So did they have those products back 50 years ago?
No, they didn't, and it was much harder then. Now you can get delicious bologna and sausages and burgers and ice cream and all these things that are plant-based.
Yes.
But then, no, they had none of that, so it was much harder.
So if you wanted to be a vegan 50 years ago, you had to be hardcore. Today, you don't have to be hardcore. You really don't give up taste. And I found it to be easier than I thought it would.
Good.
All right, so the nutrition that was in your study, what nutrients, because I know there's so many different nutrients that I see in studies that, you can try this, you can do that. What did you put in your study?
Well, one of the things that is well known about Alzheimer's disease is these Alzheimer's plaques.
The amyloid beta plaque, yes.
The amyloid beta plaques, and they build up in the brain, and they harbor the advanced glycation end products, and they shower the brain with almost radiation, like free radical damage, killing off brain cells until the brain in advanced Alzheimer's disease, as you know, has only half the brain cells left.
Yes.
And very little activity either. So I designed the study to limit the production of amyloid plaques. Now, the way it works is we have a certain chemical in our bloodstream called homocysteine. Mm-hmm. It's an undesirable element that is a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease and heart disease, and we would like to lower this. It so happens that folate, a B vitamin, and vitamin B12 work together to turn homocysteine into another thing called SAMe, or S-adenosylmethionine.
Yes.
I'll call it SAMe because it's easier to say. This SAMe is able to methylate or quench the genes that make the enzymes that make the amyloid plaque.
I want to thank you today for coming in. He's a wealth of knowledge. It's just amazing what you can learn with him. And for folks that do come into the clinic, he's available for nutritional counseling, and it will make a world of difference in your memory function.
Yeah, I hope we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening and watching.